So you hiked last week. Your next meeting is in, I think, within the next 30 days. Does it make sense for a pause, or is that meeting live?
Good morning, David, and good morning, Yvonne. Our next meeting will be on June 23rd, and it's likely that there might be a follow-up on the rate hike. All right, but of course, we are always data dependent, and so we look at the data as presented by our staff, and then we will act accordingly.
Understood. Given the information that you have right now, and this could be a changing target, how far do you think you will be able to raise interest rates in this cycle, Governor Ben?
Well, as you know, the recovery came much earlier than we expected. The economy grew by 8.3% in the first quarter, and there's also a strong rebound in the labor market. The unemployment rate went down to 5.8%. That's almost where we were before the crisis. And on the other hand, we have also observed the emergence of second-round effects, including the higher than expected adjustment in minimum wages in some regions, and I think some other regions will follow. So we are likely to maybe increase by another 25 basis points in the next policy meeting.
Governor Ben, do you think the BSP can afford to do this kind of gradual pace of hiking? There's some analysts out there like ING saying that you guys are already behind the curve. Do you agree with that statement?
No, we're comfortable with the pace of adjustments. We have actually made some adjustments in addition to the rate cut. For example, at the height of the crisis, we gave the national government an advance of 540 billion pesos. That's approximately 11 billion US dollars. They have fully paid that last Friday, ahead of the maturity on 11 June 2022. At the same time, we used at the height of the crisis, we figured we were very active in the secondary GS market, government securities market. We account for about more than 40% of the transaction. Now it's down to 3%. So we have actually done our exit strategy, and we communicate this with the public.
So a possible fall rate hike in June, Governor, I wonder, what does that mean for inflation? Are you foreseeing a second round of materializing prices that continue to head higher? And what can the BSP do to really nip inflation in the bud?
You know, actually, our target range, inflation target range is 2 to 4%. Now, because of the shock brought about by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which affected the whole world, price of oil went up considerably, and so we have factored that in. We now think that as a result of that shock, the inflation rate will be this year will be around 4.6%. So that's higher than our target range. But we see that next year inflation will go back to its 3.9%, which is within the target range. So we're not, we see this as only transitory rather than permanent, unlike in other countries.
Okay, and I mean, obviously you're data dependent, which you mentioned to us there. Are you seeing any early signs or any possible signs? Let's phrase it this way: any possible signs of inflation expectations becoming unanchored at this point in time, Governor Ben?
There has been an increase in the inflation expectations, but it has not disanchored. It's still within the range. So it is of course also in response to the higher commodity prices, but at the moment there's no risk of inflation being disanchored at this time.
And is the weakness we see in the currency, Governor, how is that factoring to your thinking right now? Are you concerned that the depreciation of the peso is going to filter through in inflation in any way?
No, we're comfortable with where it is. We have a manageable inflation rate. I think the peso has moved in in tandem with our Asian neighbors. So that's more important. And so it is still within our assumption in planning. Our assumption is 48 to 53. And so the peso has been fairly stable considering the external shock. Plus, we are confident that our hefty gross international reserves will be a deterrent for any speculation. And also, we are on an annual basis, we have structural inflows coming from the overseas Philippine remittances, the receipts from BPOs, that's the business process outsourcing, and of course, foreign direct investments has actually picked up. So between the OFW remittances and BPOs, that's easily around 60 billion US dollars. And our gross international reserves account is equivalent to more than 9 months of reserves. The receive doctrine is if you got 3 months worth of reserves for imports, that's already comfortable.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, Governor Ben, there's an incoming, well, the new administration's coming in a couple of weeks, and who knows what the fiscal stance is going to be. In the event that there is a pro-growth fiscal stance, do you think the BSP would need to mop up some of the extra liquidity? In other words, what I'm trying to get to here is, as a central bank governor, do you think the Philippine economy needs a fiscal push?
I think the incoming administration, which I understand will be proclaimed this afternoon, will continue the economic recovery that has been undertaken by the outgoing administration. So there's no reason for concern. On the other hand, the BSP will continue to be independent but supportive of the government, so of its initiatives. So I don't think there will be any change in policy immediately, or even during the entire term of the presidency.
Do you see a smooth transition to power in this next administration? Why or why not? And what would you consider to be some of the big challenges for this administration now?
Significantly very smooth. I think it will be frictionless. Let's put it that way, because number one, there's the present the incoming administration was elected overwhelmingly. Okay, and the people elected the same team. In other words, in the past, usually there's the president comes from one party and the vice president comes from another party. This time, the Filipino people elected the same team. Okay, and they have signified their intention to continue. Continuity is very important at this time, given where we are, and given our previous record. Because before the crisis, we were really growing at around 6 to 7%. I think that is the main focus now.
Governor Ben, the finance secretary sits on the monetary board. I don't suppose on live TV you could tell us who might be the front runner. 10 seconds or so.
Your guess is good as mine. Okay, I don't know who will be, but the next finance secretary.